Yeah, from the block to the blockchain. I yield farm and I mean trade. On Pulse chain, I just DCA the block for the DeFi. Shout out to the whole gang. From the block to the blockchain. I yield farm and I mean trade. On Pulse chain, I just DCA the block for the DeFi. Shout out to the whole gang.
What it do, baby? It's your boy Blockhead, bringing you the absolute best in DeFi. I'm not going to say this twice, but this is not financial advice. Look, this is episode 1 of Trenches. This is episode 1 of Maxis in the Trenches. Episode 1 of Maxis in the Trenches. Here, the objective is to bring the human side of crypto. It's not about statistics. It's not about logistics. It's not always about numbers. Here, we're trying to illustrate the winning mindset. What it takes to win, what it takes to get to the finish line. And it's a marathon, not a race. And today's guest is my first guest, none other than one of my most respected figures in the space, CoachX. How you doing, sir?
How you doing, man? Once you talked to me about this and kind of like laid out what your game plan and everything, and I was like, you wanted me to be your first guest. I was pretty pumped. Pretty pumped about it, so I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no worries, man. You showed me a lot in the space, and yeah, this is the first of many. Basically, it's just a short little show, 30 minutes max kind of thing, where we just kind of talk about the questions and show people that there's a human side to things, and show people that it's not all about reading charts and such. So, a little bit of background about yourself. How did you discover crypto?
Like, how did I discover crypto? I learned about money back in 2018, or actually it kind of started back in 2017, and working, that 9 to 5 and understanding that, do I want to run this rat race for the rest of my life? And I came to the conclusion that I did not want to do that. And understanding those things and understanding money is like in 2018, I started learning about real estate, learning about stock market, learning about options trading. And my first Bitcoin buy was in 2018. And then also, of course, getting into the memes and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't really learn about like blockchain until about 2020 and 2021, especially in the landscape of being a part of projects, how to build communities and that kind of stuff. So that's what I would say that's when I first initially learned about cryptocurrencies.
Okay, so for the people that are listening, what was your first major win? What was your first big hit in crypto?
The big hit was Doge, so, back in the day, of course, I had the frame of mind, like on Robinhood, on blah, 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 and just like buying Dogecoin. Everybody where I was working, not everybody, but some of the people are like, yeah, buy some Doge. And of course we knew what actually happened. Doge going to like about 70 cents or something like that, and made a pretty good profits there. And then also probably my biggest win is probably Hex, because I got to be a part of learning about what Richard Hart was actually building and providing for people. And that's when I was like in the trenches and learning and watching YouTube. Like I was kind of like made it like a science for me, where watching Richard Hart, watching as many people as possible. And I was doing about 3 to 5 to 6 hours of watching YouTube channels and gathering different kind of books and all that kind of stuff. And that's where kind of like the winners started to win, and not really knowing what was a bear market when did I see some kind of bear market in like 2018 to 2019? Yes, of course. But at the same time, it's like, it's just learning places when it comes to the market.
So how did you come across Hex itself?
Honestly, the way I came across Hex was I was looking for different opportunities, and I was looking for different kind of like what I said, like streamers to listen and get educated to. And Richard Hart, one of his videos like popped up in live streams, and kind of got to listen from the goat's mouth about like what is a certified deposit. And me coming from not really a background, but like my family coming up from a background of being bankers and having a certified deposit kind of intrigued me. It made me look into it. And that's where I started learning about not your keys, not your coins. That's where having your own wallet, your own like ideas when it comes to self-custody and understanding those are solutions that needed to be taking place, because a lot of people lost a lot of money in like Celsius and BlockFi, I think was another one of those things that Richard Hart said, take your money out of, and they went bankrupt. So that's what I would say the first time I learned about Hex.
Okay, so what was the moment you realized that crypto was more than a hobby?
When crypto is more than a hobby, basically just really understanding what's going on in the world and noticing that if you leave $100 or $1,000 in your bank account, just because of inflation, that money is worth X amount. So it's going to be valued that much more or less. So it's like when it comes to cryptocurrencies and different ways to make money, like farming or adding liquidity, buying and holding, staking, it was just like a no-brainer, especially with the life that I want for myself, what I want for my family. Trying to like just run this rat race like everybody else, and understanding that I had to get deprogrammed by what society actually brought us for our whole life, and just reposition my mindset of like, this is what you should be valuing your energy, or because I kind of say money is energy. So it's like, would you rather have your energy be working for you, or going from here and having some kind of percentage up, or even it has the downside risk. So it's like, have I been rugged before? Of course. Have I been like literally the worst rug that I've probably ever been in was I got in and an hour later, the dev rugged. But that was like ETH and memes and shit tokens over there. So it's like, but essentially, once you learn those lessons, you're not gonna let that happen again. But the circumstance that we can, crypto has the best possibility to set yourself apart from everybody around you. And they might not have the same kind of mindset because they're still programmed to what they possibly or believe in, what their parents told them, what their school system, what college institutions, this, that, you know. So that was like the kind of like the big waking up point.
Well,
to
do your friends and family know how deep you are in the space now? If so, what are their thoughts? What do they think about it?
Like some of my closest like family, so I'll speak to that point. Like, do they support what I'm doing? Of course. But do I like talk to them about, here's X, Y, and Z, what you need to do to set yourself up financially in the future? It doesn't need to be a year. You can, especially when it comes to like Bitcoin, realizing is like, that's going to be kind of like the future, like savings account that you should ultimately have, because there's only a set amount of supply. Friends, like, have I lost some friends on this journey? Of course, because I kind of preach about your network is your net worth, and the individuals that you hang yourself around is going to be you, essentially. Because if every single friendship, every single family member has some kind of liquidity with you, and if they're going to be like pulling you down with a framework of X, Y, and Z, it's going to bring your future down with it. But some of them are very gracious of like different conversations that I've had, but also there's the family and friends that are just like, you're a fucking idiot. You know, it's like, but it's like, okay, you're still going to work. You're putting your time, your energy, you're exhausting the only thing that's valuable in your life, which is time. And it's like, once you start understanding, not everybody's going to wake up, you know, it's like COVID happened. Not a lot of people were waking up to what was going on when it comes to the elites or governments, or how they just want control over everything. So
yeah, it's like,
it's hard.
It's like my grandpa told me, it's like, show me your friends and I'll show you who you'll be. So it's really important to shed those negative mindsets in our lives in order to win, because you can't help people that don't want to be helped. You know what I mean? Exactly. And nowadays, people are not financially literate at all.
No.
How would you explain crypto to a no coiner, especially somebody that is programmed in that 9 to 5? Like, how would you explain it in layman's terms?
In layman's terms, so I talk to these individuals every single day, and even like if I go to a golf course, or I'm playing like with somebody that I don't even know and they don't know anything about crypto, they still have that frame, or like just like what you said, they're programmed to think X amount, or they see all the negative externalities when it comes to crypto. But it's like, the way that I explain, like, is like, of course you have to start with Bitcoin, and then you have to start with Ethereum right after that. And then that's where it gets to the points where if they get that, then you can start talking to them about alts and different kind of markets, how market structures moves, and or kind of like that bigger picture. But it's kind of like, it's really like a holding their hand type of scenario, especially if they are incentivized to want to actually learn. But if they don't want to learn, this is what I do. See ya.
What can you do?
Because I rather give my energy to somebody that is eager to learn, eager to find out what could be the possible future for themselves. And you can bring a donkey to the water, but you can't force that donkey to drink.
Right.
And it could be like the best tasting water out there in the world, but the Matrix really got a lot of people. So,
well, it is the year of the snake. So a lot of us are going to move forward, and a lot of people are going to be hindered. But how do you stay so focused, especially during these rougher red market seasons?
Well, it's just, especially like in the position of I'm in, like always building, always growing, always thinking about new ideas. And I just understand, like, there's different ways to think about red times. And I look at red times as opportunities. I look at red times as another place to educate more people. You know, for the people out like in the world, they should look at it as like, all right, maybe I can do X amount of hours of YouTube or studying, or X amount of this, X amount of that. So it's like, if you change your outlook of the future and you change the mindset, what you have, you can manifest anything that you can do on a daily basis, monthly basis. And if you don't look at the red candles as like, oh, why is this not going up? Or you can be like, all right, let me buy the dip. Let me catch it.
Yeah. Some people are afraid to catch the falling knife, but it's important to learn a DCA in and DCA out.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's go to more so pulse chain related questions.
Okay.
What has been the biggest obstacle for you being a builder through these 2 years of pulse chain?
Politics, pulse chain politics. You know,
Man.
Everybody, you got to know that everybody has an agenda. Everybody has a framework. Everybody has their own opinions about certain things. But at the same time, that made me kind of like understand like not everybody's going to like you. You know, it's not everybody's going to be your number one fan. And as you are going through the process of building yourself up, you just have to hunker down and just grind on a daily basis. And your charts, your viewership, your impressions, or all that kind of stuff is the true, like, kind of like chess move that you can understand that's going to be kind of like great things could happen at any which way or moment, and just realize that you can't control everything when it comes to pulse chain. You can't control the charts, you can't control human emotions, but you can control what kind of output you put out there. And knowing that you might, like, a lot of people find me a little bit different, find me a little bit weird, find me a little bit annoying, cool. But at the same time, I know what I've done for thousands of people for over 2.5 years here on Pulse Chain. And it's just, with that being said, it's like, I'm not going to stop what I'm doing, because I want to build for the future of Pulse Chain. I want to build and onboard as many people here as possible. And it's going to be my way. And my way is a little bit different, but also I know how to build communities. It's like, I helped build the PDI community at the very, very beginning. I helped build a Tropa community at the very, very beginning. I helped build the teddy bear community at the very, very beginning. Was I the only one? No. Was there a lot of people? Yes. But at the same time, I was one of those individuals that built the community. And then
how do you create value from being a hex maxi and then going into the trenches? How do you make it to where we see the value between the two sides? Because that's what I'm trying to illustrate. I'm trying to show people that the hex maxis and the trench warriors can live in unison, whether we like it, whether we believe it or not. We're going to coexist on this chain because we need the memes just as much as we need the course. Yeah,
well, what I would say about that is, like, we're on a layer 1, baby. And there's going to be smart contracts created. There's going to be meme tokens launched. There's going to be good actors. There's going to be bad actors. You know, of course, everything happens on every single chain. Like, but like for the hex maxis, you know, of course, everybody on a layer 1 has their job. You know, has their job. So it's like, if they're preaching about hex, of course, keep on preaching about hex, but don't not really like talk shit, but like don't have a narrative where we're trying to onboard people to the blockchain. And if we get more onboards, if people like memes and like the game, you know, we're in the casino, it's like, those are kind of like the endeavors that some of the hex maxis need to understand, that for a thriving blockchain to actually have or occur, you're going to have the memes, you're going to have the utilities, you're going to have people building on hex in terms of liquidity providing or something like that. You got to have the people that bring up different ideas of different ways to make money, because that's what we're here all about, is to make money. And a thriving blockchain is a blockchain with a lot of volume, a lot of communication, a lot of things happening. And honestly, like, I'm a humble degen farmer. I once was a farmer, and now I'm not. But at the same time, I still have that degen blood. And was I like a hex maxi? Of course. Do I own a lot of stakes and a lot of t-shirts and stuff like that? I'm not going to say yes or no to that, but it's like, I know what I hold. I know what's valuable. And of course, when I'm talking to my clients and I'm talking to my community in terms of the Alliance X, I do preach about that. Hex is this. So you should be evaluating Hex for the long term, like looking at it as Bitcoin, just like how I do, because that's what I feel like what Richard Hart was trying to build out for the future, which is those type of things going on. So that's what I would say about that.
Yeah, the Hex Maxis definitely deserve some respect because they were here first. But I think the Trench Warriors represents the opportunities that are on chain. And I think we need to be more open to all the opportunities. And that's how we create value and address the FUD. But with that being said, how do you address the FUD?
How I address the FUD? Hockey sticks. I just give out hockey sticks. Hockey sticks. Everybody like a good hockey stick, but at this, or the FUD, sometimes there's a thing called a block button, thing called a mute button. It's like, if it's the same thing when it like your net worth is your net worth. It's like what you let inside your head, inside your like thoughts and sides of like what you're thinking about could ultimately affect what it's going to be your future self in terms of your portfolio. So it's not that hard. And it's like, have I been like FUDed before? Of course. Have I been has there been misinformation floating around about me? Of course. Has there been saying, oh, CoachX is a scammer? It's like, all right, everybody was calling Richard Hart a scammer. Is he a scammer? I'll wait. So it's like, all right.
Yeah, that's funny. What keeps you so driven, especially like when it comes to the streams and all that, because you put in a lot of effort. You're a very strong-willed person. What keeps you so motivated and driven?
Because I know what the future holds, especially here on Pulse Chain. People can say X, Y, Z, this and that, but looking at the opportunity I look at the opportunity and then I also look at the risk. But if I look back in history, what was Ethereum's price at the beginning? And what is the Ethereum's price right now? What was Bitcoin's price at the beginning? What is Bitcoin's price right now? And knowing that Pulse Chain is just like a brand new city state, there's new buildings getting built on a daily basis. There's already skyscrapers in regards to like PTGC and UFO.
A whole lot of real estate.
Yeah. But like just knowing that there's going to be different kind of buildings getting built out and memes and protocols and different kind of like frameworks of like, maybe there's going to be like lotteries and different kind of ideas floating around for people to actually gather value and build utilities and structure, or like an oracle and all that kind of stuff. And just looking at that frame of mind and just know that there's so much more in this future. Plus I do it for my family. I do it. Of course, do I do it for myself? Yeah, because I know what kind of life that I want for myself and for my kids, and honestly for my children's children, because I'm in a place where I'm very spiritual when it comes to that, and just knowing that that is what some of the things that like Yahweh wants us to do. It's in the Bible. This is like, that's one of the things that you need to hunker down and understand, that that's your kind of goal in life. It's like, what kind of legacy do you want to provide for your family? And just knowing that Pulse Chain has so much to deliver for not just like this year or this bull market cycle, but for like Hex 5555, it's like, it's 15 years. So once you have that framework of like, all right, what is Hex going to be in 15 years from now, 10 years from now? It's like looking at that frame of mind is just, and then giving the opportunity to maybe pay for my kids' college, even though I think college is a scam, but we're not going to get into that. But yeah, just knowing the opportunities that present itself.
So what do you think your biggest success to date is? Would you say it's finding Hex? Would you say it's finding PDI early, PTGC, or the X protocol? What's your biggest success on Pulse Chain now?
Well, honestly, my biggest flex or anything was actually finding Richard Hart and learning from him. Learning. Like, that's probably my biggest flex, because he was like, I like to say that I'm his number one student, but I know that it's probably not a factual statement. There's hundreds of thousands of RH students, but in terms of what I took from all that, and kind of like learning how to build communities and learning about what essentially is needed to happen when it comes to any kind of like crypto out there. You know, it's like you need so the only thing that matter in crypto is supply, speculation, and liquidity. It's the only three things. So that's what and then in terms of like my biggest flex is, of course, PGC going up 7.2 million% in about 13 months. And not a lot of people can say they were a part of building a project from the beginning that has done 7.2 million% at all-time highs. And I'll repeat, 7.2 million%. And currently right now, I think is at 1.5 or 1. What is it? 1. I don't know. We would have to look at the chart, but we don't have to do that.
Right now. We're not pulling up charts today. Okay, so we're coming up on the 30-minute mark. We got a couple minutes left. What core token do you think will run the hardest?
PulseX.
Really?
Yep.
Over
will run the hardest?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. It's going to run the hardest because it's a deflationary token. Plus the volatility of the chart just shows for itself. Plus it's outperformed Pulsechain a little bit more than what PHEX has actually outperformed Pulsechain. So realizing that's going to be something that is going to be going on forever, the deflationary aspect of PulseX, it's like, what do you think is going to happen? But another thing to consider is like the amount of liquidity with Hex. So it does have the possibility of pumping too a little bit harder. But if the staking is digressing a little bit, then we have to assume that the outcome of what's going to be happening can just be I don't know. I just like PulseX in terms of a RH ticker.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one. I like when projects pair with PulseX, especially deflationary tokens that pair with PulseX, because you're getting deflationary tokens paired with a major deflationary token. It's a recipe for a hockey stick bomb, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But I think let's get to some closing messages. I think it's important for us to understand that Richard Hart wanted to create 1 million millionaires, and I interpreted that as Richard wanted to create 1 million leaders. Or in order to be a millionaire, you have to lead. You can't just sit back and assume that the money's going to come to you. You got to put in the work. I assume you put in. This is your full-time job, and you put in a lot of hours. You've put in a lot of hours to get to where you're at. Yeah,
and I'll just say one thing. If you want this job or you want this lifestyle, you're gonna have to understand pressure. B, you're gonna have to understand that you're working 24/7. And C, you're gonna have to take sacrifices. There's the amount of sacrifices that I had to do for myself, mentally, financially, spiritually, all that kind of stuff. It's like it's a endeavor that not a lot of people can handle, and you can see that on just like here on Pulse, like some of the influencers or streamers went away, went bye, never talked to it, and then they came back. You're like, oh hey, I'm back. But there's like, for me, I was set out for a mission. I'm set out for a mission to change my life, to change everybody that wants to listen to me's life, because I try to be as like, I'm just a giver, and I just like building relationships, building communities, building a frame of mind for individuals that could change their life forever.
And yeah, being a maverick, being a leader, I mean, it takes blood, sweat, and tears, man. There's a lot to it. We had to pay our tuition to be able to do this. It's not easy. It's not for the lighthearted.
Yeah, and like another thing, like if you do start and you do fail at some point in times, have I failed? Yes. Have I failed twice? Yes. Have I failed 3 times? Yes. But I keep on getting back up and understanding what and learning from those mistakes, or learning from other people's mistakes, is kind of like the best thing that you can actually do for yourself for the long run.
Yes, sir. Do you have any last things you want to say to the crowd? Because yeah, we're hitting that 30-minute mark, and I want to keep these things nice and short. I really appreciate your time. It's been an honor.
Yeah, man. What I would say is just once you find that way, or not way of thinking, but that strategy that fits for yourself for a short-term, mid-term, and long-term vision, and coming down to the understanding that you have to have those already set up before you actually go into trading or staking or getting into in the depth of cryptocurrencies. So just realizing that, sticking to your plan, and especially when you go into the realm of the degens, just know that you're going to get X amount, you're going to take some profits, you're going to leave your moon bag, and you just let it ride. So that's a little like thing that I kind of talk about in the Alliance and to all my clients. So that's what I would say about that, man.
Yeah, have a plan going in, have a plan going out.
Exactly.
All right, Coach. Well, it was a great call, man. I appreciate it. You have a good rest of your day, and let's bring you back on here in a couple weeks. Let's do a little recap.
All right, man. I love it.
Yes, sir. You have a good one. I'll talk to you soon. All right, everybody. That was episode 1 of Maxis in the Trenches. Stay tuned. I'll be doing this every Thursday, and you never know, there might be a couple shows in the same day. So everybody, take it easy. I have a good one, and don't stop, man. Don't give up. Let's go.
Yeah, from the block to the blockchain, I yield farm and I mean trade. On Pulse Chain, I just DCA the block for the DeFi. Shout out to the whole gang. From the block to the blockchain, I yield farm and I mean trade. On Pulse Chain, I just DCA the block for the DeFi. Shout out to the whole gang.